Put your faith in the light. Yes. Yes. Yes!
Hello guys, welcome to another one of my videos. This is Lightblade, and well guys, I'm really happy about the news today. As you can see from the intro video, we got some really good stuff that we're going to be talking about. So first of all, they announced the 10.0.7 date. So that's the retribution paladin rework, and the date is 21st of March. So go get ready those retribution paladins. You got 2 weeks to get as much gear as you can to have the most fun when that patch drops. After that, they announced the 10.1 patch, which is going to bring a new dungeon, a new zone, and a new dungeon, Mythic Plus dungeon rotation, which is going to be the main topic of this video. But let's talk about the raids first. The name of the raid is going to be Aberus, the Shadowed Crucible. It's going to be like underground, like it was foreshadowed at the end of the Razagat fight. After that, we also have the new zone that's going to be the Zara-like cave. So like nothing new, it's a new zone that we're going to go and do like board stuff, you know how it works. But now, let's talk about the Mythic Plus rotation, which is the main thing that we talk about this channel. We love to do Mythic Plus here. So, as normal, we're going to be doing the dungeons of Dragonflight that we haven't done yet. So those are going to be House of Infusion, Brackenhigh Hallow, Neltharion, and Uldaman's Legacy of Tyr. So a lot of those dungeons have kind of hard mechanics, you know. A lot of people were thinking that they're going to be really hard on Mythic Plus dungeons, but Blizzard thought about that. So first of all, they're going to be removing the seasonal affix. So no more seasonal affix. Thundering is going to be the last of it. Blizzard says it's no longer needed because since we're changing dungeons every single season, there's no need to make them fresh every time because with the seasonal affix. Which is good because it's one less thing you have to worry about when doing a key. You can now focus more on the dungeon and the other two weekly affixes, you know. They're also going to remove some stuff from the dungeons, they say, just to make them easier and more tolerable, you know, because there's a lot of mechanics that people saw in Mythic Zeros that are considered hard. So, on top of that, we're going to have new dungeons, well, all dungeons that are going to be in the rotation of dungeons in Season 2, which are, one is coming from Legion, 2 are coming from BFA, and 1 surprisingly is coming for Cataclysm. Yes, when I heard a Cataclysm dungeon for Mythic Plus, I was like, what? Really? But maybe it works out. Who knows? And well, now let's talk about the dungeons in question. Okay, let's talk about the Legion dungeon first, and this is Neltharion's Lair. So lore-wise, they brought this back because it makes sense since we're going in the new raid where Neltharion got corrupted. So this dungeon in a fortified setting is pretty fair. A lot of the mobs don't do much, you know, they're mostly just a kick or a stun, and you're pretty much off free, and you can just deal with them. There's not very huge pulls that you can do here. The only annoying mechanic from mobs is the one that makes the ceiling fall on top of you, but the easy way to deal with that mechanic is as soon as you see the cast, you just move away and you're done. Tyrannical Neltharion's Lair is a bit more tricky. There's some stuff with Brockmora that you have to kill the little bugs before it does the slam or everyone dies. And well, yeah, basically that's pretty much it. Underrot, the Crack Shaper, also has a bit of difficulty in Tyrannical setting because he does a lot of damage with whenever he goes into the cup phase, you know, where you gotta guess the thing, and people are taking a lot of damage until the people get the correct guess. Normally, someone will get it like really fast, you know, so hopefully, so you don't take as much damage. But all in all, Neltharion's Lair is a fair dungeon that I'm happy to see in the new rotation. Now let's go to the 2 BFA dungeons. Okay guys, let's talk about BFA dungeons then. So there's 2, Freehold and Underrot. Both are really good dungeons, but let's start with Freehold. So Freehold is a fan favorite, and rightly so. Freehold enables so many huge pulls here. It's so fun to do. It's also a pretty simple dungeon. There's not many casters to kick or anything. You do have to do a lot of stuff if you're going to be doing huge pulls though, because the monkeys spin. You gotta stop that, and there's a lot of monkeys and a lot of these pulls. So doing the AoE disorients, AoE stuns, all those things are really good to enable those huge pulls. That's for fortified Freehold. For tyrannical Freehold, it's a bit more tricky because some of these bosses have like one-shotty mechanics that are really dangerous. For example, Sky Captain Crag does this Azurite powder shot that does massive amounts of damage to the target it picks. If you're unlucky and it picks you twice or 3 times in a row, you're probably going to die from this. There was ways to cheese this ability in the past, so maybe we can use those as well now. There was one where you turn into a gnome and you like went to a special place to LOS this ability, but for the most part, I'm thinking Blizzard would probably make this ability not go on the same person twice or something. That would be a fix for this dungeon, for this ability at least. Council of Captains was one of also those fights when in Tyrannical it could go to that one-shotty territory, especially with Captain Eudora and Powder Shot. So Powder Shot was just a physical shot that she does. She did it pretty often, so you could get picked twice in a row, and if you were low enough, you will probably die in a Tyrannical setting, you know. There was a ways to counter this, especially for range players that could use like a little pillar place that you could like LOS stuff, but for melee characters where, well, you're tough or luck, you gotta be in melee to do your damage, so you just gotta take it and hope your healer can top you up pretty fast. The other two bosses were not a big deal in Tyrannical setting. The Shark boss was just don't stand in Shark and do damage. That was pretty much it. Harlan Sweetie was another boss that was pretty easy to do. Some players even got some trash on top of this boss just so the boss could kill him, because he did this cannon barrage that actually hits friendly targets, so the boss would kill the trash for the group. You know, you can also do that strategy here. Harlan Sweetie was also one of those bosses that killed itself because it took extra damage as the fight went on, so it was a pretty simple fight as well. All in all, Freehold is a great addition to the Mythic Plus rotation in Season 2, and I'm really happy to see it here. Now let's go to the next dungeon. Okay, so Underrot. Underrot was another one of those dungeons you were happy to see in BFA when you got it, because it was a pretty simple dungeon to do. There's not much nuance to it, you know. It's a bit more complicated in Freehold because the trash has a lot more mechanics, but for the most part it's a pretty simple dungeon to do, you know. Most of the annoying trash was in the part of Krogmody Infested. You got those plants, the crabs, and the worms that did a lot of stuff. The plants did you had to interrupt the plants so they don't stun the target for like 10 seconds. The crabs had to be de-enraged or slowed until the enrage effect passed, because they also fixated a target, and if they reached that target they killed them. And the worms had to be CC'd in any shape, way, or form whenever they did a frontal cleave, you know, because it was a massive amount of damage. Other than that, there was not much annoying trash that I can remember from Underrot. The bosses were a bit tricky in Tyrannical. All the bosses had a bit of nuance in Tyrannical settings. Elderly Axa was a bit deadly because, well, she had a lot of health, she summoned a copy, and you had to handle a lot of interrupts. Krogmody Infested was a race between either you kill the boss or the healer couldn't heal the tantrum effect, you know. Eventually the healer went and, well, everyone died, you know. So you gotta kill the boss fast. Normally everyone saved cooldowns for this guy. You save lust, you save pots, everything, you know. Spore Color Sanchez is a technical fight. You have to get rid of some mushrooms that will spawn on the ground and don't get hit by shockwaves or upheavals, you know. So that was the way to do this fight. Pretty simple. Personally, it was like kind of my personal kryptonite here. I always found a way to die in this fight. The dungeon could go perfectly fine, and I always died like at the end, or something bad happened to me always in this fight. I don't really know why. The next boss is another one that's a kind of a dance fight. Everyone stacks together, the boss does a spit, you move away from it and just continue to do that until the boss is dead. It's a pretty simple fight. All in all, Underrot is a pretty simple dungeon, and I'm really happy to see it in Season 2 of Dragonflight. Now let's go to the last dungeon, which is the Cataclysm Dungeon. Okay, so for Cataclysm Dungeon, what can I say about the Cataclysm Dungeon? Well, it's pretty old. So the dungeon in question is the Vortex Pinnacle. This dungeon, I gotta be honest with you guys, I don't really know what the hell happens here. The trash or the bosses. I've done the time walking version of it, but you know, it's time walking. You don't really know what's happening there. Stuff just dies really fast and just plow through the dungeon as easy as possible, you know. I've seen some mechanics on the bosses. I do remember this Call the Wind is like a plus and negative mechanic. If you're on the plus side, you get extra haste. If you're on the negative side, you get less haste and are moving slower, you know. And the last boss does like a lot of AoE stuff, and you gotta stand in a lot of place when he does the big storm, you know, so you don't die. That's pretty much it. All dungeons are normally like pretty simple in mechanics. They're probably going to give this place the treatment of Temple of the Jade Serpent, you know. They're going to add maybe some kicks on the trash, because if I remember correctly, there's only one kick that you do in most of those trash packs, and it's like the healer guy. Yeah, I remember that. So they're probably going to put some extra difficulty on this dungeon, you know, because they are removing the seasonal affix, so they can actually put some stuff now in the dungeon so people can handle that, you know, and don't have to like manage the seasonal thing. So I'm pretty okay with that if they do it. I don't know how this is going to work, you know, guys, because like I said before, I don't really know much about this dungeon, you know, Vortex Pinnacle. It's also the first time we're seeing such an old dungeon put into a Mythic Plus setting, so it's a mystery how this is going to work. I'm really hoping it works out, you know, it's a good experiment. Maybe they can put some even older stuff if this works out, you know, who knows, maybe we can see like Stratholme Mythic Plus sometime in the future, who knows, anything can happen. And well guys, that's going to be all for today. I'm really excited about all the news we've got, and you know, I'm really happy to see the 2 dungeons from BFA. That was my second favorite expansion. The first one was Legion and the one that I did the most dungeons in. Second one was BFA, and I've ran a lot of dungeons BFA as well. My second most ran dungeons, I think. Then was Shadowlands, and then is Dragonflight, you know. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention one thing. Our best trinket comes from one of the new dungeons that we're going to be running. It comes from Underrot, this thing, the Vial of Animated Blood. It is a 1.5 minute cooldown trinket, but you will probably just bind it to your wings, you know, and just use it on cooldown. It gives you a ton of strength that decays over 18 seconds, which is pretty damn strong. It also has mastery, which we like a lot, especially since with the rework, a lot of stuff is going to scale with mastery from our kit, which is really nice. And well guys, having said all that, if you enjoy my content, subscribe to the channel and leave a like in the video. Thanks for watching everyone.